My name is Sunny. I am Jeff's wife. We co-pastor the church together. If you've never met me before, come back next week. You'll hear a phenomenal message, but I believe that God has a phenomenal message for you today. I believe that God's going to do a miracle in your life this morning, right here. We're continuing our Becoming Love series. It's been so good, hasn't it? You know, we gave out books to everyone. If you didn't get a book, I don't know if we have any left, but you can always stop by the information tent, or you can stop by the visitor's desk out there and say, I didn't get a book. Do you by chance have one? Because we're all reading this book together. It's called Everybody Always by Bob Goff, and it is just phenomenal. So I'm preaching to you out of that a little bit this morning with the Bible. You know, a book never takes the place of the Bible. But I'm going to preach to you this morning about compassion. Compassion is just a fancy word for love. We are called to be compassion. We are called to love people. If it's hard or if it's easy, we are called to love them. Compassion is just an expression of love. And I'm going to be cheesy for just a minute. Will you let me do that? Every now and then again it happens. But, you know, the beginning of the word compassion is compass, right? And what does a compass do? It points where? North. That's right. I'm here this morning. God brought me to this place on this day, on this stage, to help bring you back to your true north. Your true north, to what you are created to do, to what you are made to do, to love people, to be compassion to people. You know, I want to show you a couple of diagrams. I'm going to teach for just a minute, if that's okay. School just started back. I'm envious. I want to be like a teacher, so I'm going to do it this morning. You know, most of us in life, most people in the world, they live like this. Me. They are the center of their world. When me is in the middle, man, it's good. You make all of your plans that are all about you. You do all the things that you like to do. Man, it's so fun to hang out with yourself because there's no one else in the way. Right? This is the way most of the world lives. The world revolves around them. But we have people here in this place, like you and me. We live a little bit differently than this, or at least we try to, right? We live like this, me and God. Now, we're still a little bit in the center of our world, right? But we continue to reach up and reach up and reach up, trying to connect to God. You know what I'm talking about, right? You read your Bible, you pray. Maybe you don't do that yet. Maybe even if you just go, God, do something in my world, you're reaching. You're reaching right up to Him. This is how lots of people live that are in God's house all over the world. And while this is awesome, I mean, it's so good that you are trying to get your relationship with God better. Yay, you. I really want to commend you, okay? While that is good, it's a little bit selfish. So take the compliment, yay you. I'm not being funny, I'm serious. It's great that you're reaching up to God. But understand that if it's just you and God, you're actually living in a selfish place. Because what's happening is you're reaching up and getting something from God. Maybe every day, reaching up and getting something from God. And you're filling up and you're consuming and consuming and eating and eating and eating. And man, it's so good. It's so good, isn't it? God is so good. He does the most amazing things. He blesses us so much. But we continue to consume and consume, and we get fatter and fatter and fatter. And before you know it, we're like Violet the Blueberry on Chocolate Factory, right? And we roll right on out until we explode. But the deal is this: God did not call us to continue to get fatter and fatter. He called us for living water to flow out of our belly. He called us to not just get fat, but to take what He gives us and give it back out. So this is the way that we should be living. Every day, it is a challenge, but every day you should be reaching up to God and reaching down to others. Up to God, down to others. Your constant posture should be this. Let me tell you, that's a hard place to be in sometimes. But it should be this always, because what you get from God, you give it to someone else. I want you to know this. This is what you were created to do. It might be really hard for you to reach to others, to reach out to others. It might be all you can do to just read your Bible every day. Man, I get it. But you were created for so much more. And I want you to know, as you begin to reach down to others, you'll be strengthening that compassion muscle, reaching down and reaching down. And you'll find, when you go to the gym, you don't start out with a 50-pound dumbbell, do you? Because you couldn't lift it. But as you begin to reach down, you get stronger and stronger. And before long, you're not just reaching out to one person, you're reaching out to 20 people. And people's lives are being changed because of you, because you're taking what you get and you're giving it to someone else. Lives are being transformed just because you're doing what you were made to do. You were created to love people. It's only at that moment when you're reaching up and reaching down that his yoke is easy and his burden is light, just like his word says. It's at that moment when this is your posture, that you're living full life, that John 10:10 life and life more abundant. You were made to do it. You were created to do it. My son, he runs cross country. Jeff told you guys this story the other day, but it's my story, so I'm telling it again. Parker, my oldest son, he runs cross country. And when he runs, the way that cross country works is it's this big trail. And sometimes in the trail, they come out into a field, and other times they're running through the woods. You guys familiar with that? So every time that it's time for Parker to run, I try to get a map and figure out every time he's going to come out of the woods, because I want to be right there yelling like the loudest, most embarrassing parent that there is. So Parker will come out of the woods in the first place, and I'll go, "Come on, Parker! Go! You got it! You got it!" And I'll run. See, he goes back through the woods on this long thing, and I'll run over to the next place. I'll run over. Jeff said last week that I ran like this. I don't. I run like this. And I come over to this part of the woods, and I'm waiting. I'm looking for those white legs to come out of the woods, and then I go, "Come on, Parker, come on. You're doing so great. I know you're tired, but you're doing great." Run to the next place. Whew. But this is the best place, okay? Because at the very end, I'm getting winded. I go to Orange Theory. Whew. I don't know what's happening. Lauren, help me. So at the end, there's this, I did this last time. I don't know what it's called. A finish line. A corralled area that you run out of the woods into to get to the finish, right? So what I do, I don't want to be at the finish line. I don't want to be there. Where I want to be is that last spot where Parker pops out of the woods, where he can see the finish line. I get a little bit emotional, I'm sorry. But you'll find out in a minute why. So he comes out of the woods, I'm waiting, here he comes, and this is the moment. "Come on, Parker! Look, it's right there, go faster, go harder," and I start running with him. "Come on, you've got it, it's right there, harder, harder, harder." This, right here, is what God does to you. This is what God does to you. He waits for every moment that you pop your heads out of the woods. He waits for every moment that he can see your face to say, "Come on, I made you for this. I made you to love these people. I know it's hard. I know some of them are awful, but you can do it. I created you just for this. The finish line is right here. I'm running with you. We're in this together." That's what you were created for. And as you begin to run, as you begin to run that race, just putting one step in front of the other, you'll find he's waiting to talk to you at every single moment. Bob Goff said this in his book: "The moment we take even a tiny shuffle forward, what God is already thinking about us is this: I love you. You've got this. You know enough." Man, isn't that good? We are called to love. I mean, really love. Love everybody. Love our friends. Love our enemies. Love our neighbors. Love our coworkers. Love your pastors, please. Love your pastors. Sometimes we tell you things that you don't want to hear. We're trying to help you. Love us anyway. Love these pastors and leaders anyway. You're called to love everybody, even when it's hard. You're called to love the lady at Target that's checking you out. And even harder, you're called to love the lady at Kroger that's in front of you with the 400 coupons. Who knows that's a challenge? Keep that smile on your face. You're called to love everybody, where it's easy, where it's hard, where it's convenient, where it's not. When they're nice, when they're rude, when they're your friends, or when they're freaks. You are called to love everybody, period. The Apostle Paul defined this love like this. Love endures with patience and serenity. Love is kind and thoughtful. It is not jealous or envious. Love does not brag. It is not proud or arrogant. It is not rude. It is not self-seeking. It is not provoked, overly sensitive, or easily angered. It does not take into account of a wrong endured. It does not rejoice at injustice, but love rejoices with the truth when right and truth prevail. Love bears all things, regardless of what comes. It believes all things, looking for the best in each one. It hopes all things, remaining steadfast during difficult times. Endures all things without weakening. Love never fails. It never fades or ends. Isn't that amazing? And convicting. It's very convicting for me. You were made to be this. I want you to know that this morning. You were made to be this. You were created to function just like this. You are called for this purpose. You are His plan. Look at your neighbor and say that. I am His plan. How scary is that? You are His plan. I don't even like to say that out loud. I'm your plan. I'm sorry already. But you were created for this. You are His plan. And let me ask you this question. If not you, then who? If not you, then who? Jesus did this best. I'm going to read a really long scripture to you. I mean, really long. Say really long. Okay, good. I need you to stick with me. I need you to just read it. I need you to listen. I need you to absorb it because the rest of my message is coming right out of it. Are you ready? All right, here we go. They went across the lake to the region of the Gerasenes. When Jesus got out of the boat, a man with an impure spirit came from the tombs to meet him. This man lived in the tombs, and no one could bind him anymore, not even with a chain. For he had often been chained hand and foot, but he tore the chains apart and broke the irons on his feet. No one was strong enough to subdue him. Night and day among the tombs and in the hills, he would cry out and cut himself with stones. When he saw Jesus from a distance, he ran and fell on his knees in front of him. He shouted at the top of his voice, "What do you want to do with me, Jesus, Son of the Most High God? In God's name, don't torture me." For Jesus had said to him, "Come out of this man, you impure spirit." Then Jesus asked him, "What's your name?" "My name is Legion," he replied, "for we are many." And he begged Jesus again and again not to send them out of the area. A herd of large pigs was feeding on the nearby hillside. The demons begged Jesus, "Send us among the pigs, allow us to go into them." He gave them permission, and the impure spirits came out and went into the pigs. The herd, about 2,000 in number, rushed down the steep bank into the lake and were drowned. Those tending the pigs ran off and reported this to the town and countryside. And when people went out to see what had happened, When they came to Jesus, they saw the man who had been possessed by the legion of demons sitting there, dressed and in his right mind, and they were afraid. Those who had seen it told the people what had happened to the demon-possessed man and told them about the pigs as well. Then the people began to plead with Jesus to leave their region. All right, let's unpackage this real quick, all right? So you've got Jesus there Unbelievable Jesus, the one we're supposed to try and be like all the time. He's in a boat with his buddies. He goes across the lake. He gets out. He's walking down the dock to the grass, and this freaky, naked man that's really dirty, and his teeth are nasty and rotting out. He has cuts all over him, comes running up. Jesus! Now, let me just ask you a question. I'm just going to ask you, what would you do if that happened? What would you do? I'll tell you what I'd do. Peace out. I'm out. I bet you those disciples were like, Jesus, let's get back in that boat. Go, 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 go. Abort, abort, abort. Right? That's what we would do. That's what we would do. Let me ask you this. Has anyone ever in this room, raise your hand, been confronted by a demon? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Wow, way more than 6. You guys are 7. You guys are weird. Well, let me tell you who else got confronted by a demon. How'd I get so lucky? Let me tell you about it real quick. Jeff and I were in Arizona. We have this deal when we're traveling or anywhere at all. You know Jeff, he loves Starbucks. He loves a grande black coffee, double cupped with no room. So instead of going through the drive-thru, what we do is we get to Starbucks. I run out of the car really quick, go in, get the drink, black coffee, double cup, no room. Run back into the car, and we zoom off instead of waiting in that long line, right? So we're in Arizona, we get to the Starbucks, and it's one of those places like this. You know when you go to a building and you open the glass doors and then you step 1, 2, 3, and there's 2 more glass doors. It's like this little hallway. I don't know what you call those. Sort of like finish. It doesn't look like that at all. That's a finish line. Thank you. So I walk into the little hallway thing. There's a little pull-up banner that says, enjoy a Frappuccino today or something. It's a tiny hallway. Well, all of a sudden, I notice that there is this lady behind the sign up against the wall like this. Does that look right? You got it? I'm not a mime anymore. I was one time. She's leaning up against the wall. Well, she startled me. Like, who stands there all by herself? So I walk, first door. Oh, gosh. Oh, I'm so sorry. You scared me. Sorry about that. Second door, go in, get the coffee, right? I think it's nothing. Water off a duck's back. We're good to go. Stand in line, get the coffee, turn back around. I've pretty much forgotten about the lady, but for 2 seconds, I don't see her. Whew. Okay to proceed. Open the door into the hallway. 1, 2. Ah! No joke. Ah! Does that scare you? Does it? Well, let me tell you what does scare me. Coffee dripping down my arm that's about the temperature of the sun. That's what scares me. And also you are freaking me out. What in the world has just happened? Does this scare you? Heck yes, it scares me. So at the top, coming off the coffee, I get the heck out of Dodge. I start running. I open the car door, put the coffee in the thing, whatever's left of it, the little cup holder. And I'm like, Jeff, go, go, go. I can picture her running out and jumping on the top of the car and swinging all around. I can see it all happening. And Jeff just looks at me really slowly. He goes, what is it? Go, there's a demon in there. Listen, not everyone is a demon. But this lady was nuts. And while that doesn't happen to us every day, I want you to know that when it does, when those wacky people, demon-possessed or not, come up to us, I want you to know that it's normal to try to run. It's normal to try to get away from them. But what I'm here to tell you today is you're not called to be normal. You're called to be a kingdom builder. I want you to know that Jesus didn't back away that day because the Spirit of God was on the inside of him. And I also want you to know this. You are just like Jesus. The Spirit of God lives right on the inside of you. And no matter what comes up to you and tries to scare you or tell you something mean, I want you to know that you are stronger than they are. So what did Jesus do at that moment? Let me tell you what he did. Unbelievable. He saw that man that day for what he could be, not for what he was at that moment. Hey, church, we're called to see people the way that they can be, not who they are standing in front of you. Jesus saw his future and not his present. When you walk up to people that are just a little bit prickly, see them for who they can be. Have compassion on them. Have love toward them because there's something else on the inside of them busting to get out, and you are the one that's there to release it. You know anybody that's like that? Do you know anybody that's just cuckoo or weird or strange, but they don't realize it themselves? Do you wonder maybe if God's going to put someone in their life in order to help them, in order to love them, in order to make them normal again? Do you wonder if there's someone, God, are you going to send someone in their life to make them normal? Please. Well, I have a news flash for you this morning, church. It's you. It's you. God sent you into their life to love them, to have compassion on them. You know, there's another perspective on this story that I want to share with you for a minute. There was a crowd of people living in that town. The herdsmen were up on the hill. They were watching these pigs. They were loving these pigs. They were making sure they weren't overcome with ticks and bugs. They were making sure that they didn't escape. They were making sure that they got fed. And all of a sudden, in one moment, one man comes in, and their whole life, everything that they're invested in, this whole town, everything they're about, their cash crop, goes running down the hill into a lake and dies. In one fell swoop, it happens. Imagine how they felt. So the herdsmen go running into the town to get the people. Listen, I want to tell you something. These pigs, they sold them. They sold their meat to the butchers. They sold their ears, the pig ears, to the pet stores, I guess, for your dogs. They sold the skin to the fancy restaurants that make pig skins for keto eaters. It was everything to them. They didn't have a college education to do something else. There was no backup plan. It would be like if someone came in and snapped their fingers, and all of a sudden, here in Georgia, every Chick-fil-A closed down like that. The people would riot. The people would go nuts. Chick-fil-A, what? People would go crazy. Well, that's exactly what was happening there in that town. So what happens is the herdsmen run into the town. They go in and they go, hey, you're not going to believe what just happened down there. This man got off this boat, and he came in, and you know that man that lives in the graveyard, he came running at him, and you know, the man was in this dress, and he had long hair and some sandals on, and he just started talking to this guy, and he started praying for him, and all of a sudden, this weird thing happened to our pigs. Like all of a sudden, these pigs just went crazy, and they went running off the hill. They went right into the lake, and they all died. I'm not kidding. They died. Well, imagine. It was their everything. So again, just like Chick-fil-A being gone, they rioted. They were like, where is this man in this dress? Where is he? Take us to him. I can see them running down the streets all together, yelling, we hate people that don't like pigs, having signs, honk if you love pigs, pig haters. I can see them just running down. They're getting angrier and angrier. Their anger is feeding each other's anger. Have you ever seen one of those parades? They're having one of those parades. And they walk up and they see Gollum. They see Gollum in a tux. They see that man that was so disgusting and so awful and so scary and so evil. They see him sitting there cleaned up, refreshed, made new, good breath, handsome. They can't even believe it. But do you know what happens? I want you to listen to me for a minute. Do you know what happens at that moment? They lose sight of the miracle because all they can focus on is the cost. All they can focus on is, you killed our pigs. They can't focus on this crazy man that has been demon-possessed for years, where I avoid walking that way home so that I don't have to get near him, is completely normal over here. They missed the miracle because they were paying attention to the cost. How horrible is that? They sent Jesus out and away. I want you to know this morning, church. Love costs. It's going to cost you something. It's not always convenient or fun. It can be really hard work. As you love people, it's not normal. It's not what the people around you do, but it's what you're called to do. It's what you're made to do. And while I might be standing here inspiring you today, you might be going, I'm going to find somebody to love today. Well, keep that smile on your face, but it's going to cost you. I want you to know that it's going to cost you. But God sent me here today to ask you, will you pay the cost?